Yeah, pretty much. We've been chopping the latter half of last week, right? Didn't see much follow through on a lot of moves, and kind of seeing money, like especially on individual stocks, right? Like one day we have software, and then software sells off, right? Just kind of like this back and forth whack a mole. So not seeing much follow through, right? And the indices have kind of been choppy as well. I personally believe that there's one or two scenarios, right? Wednesday is VIX expiration, so the VIX has been pretty much pinned, and just like it's selling off, right? But I think Wednesday, when those contracts get unloaded, we could potentially see some volatility then on Wednesday, or we don't see anything until NVIDIA earnings in like 2 weeks, a week and a half. So because of that, like I said, I'm sizing down. I'm withdrawing money tonight from my account and like moving it into like my long term, like trading, like my long term portfolio. Something I do anyways, right? Every month or so, take profit out. But it seemed like a good time to do that now, especially after getting kicked in the groin on Friday. So with that, like I said, there's not much like as far as like on the data standpoint this week that's really going to move the markets. So yeah, I mean we have jobless claims on Thursday, right? None of these are really going to be catalysts to kind of send the market higher or send the market lower. On the earnings side next week, we have not much, right? So we got a lot of the retailers. We got Home Depot, Target, TJ Maxx, Lowe's, Ross, Walmart, right? A lot of the retailers next week. No tech companies that I see. No, I don't see much. Analog, they don't really, no one really trades them. So yeah, earnings kind of mute, right? I think it's like, again, wait and see what happens after NVIDIA in about a week and a half. But yeah, where it's obviously summer, low volatility, so it's like grinding up, right? That's typically what happens in the price action we get in the summer, but this is a really, really slow, frustrating grind, right? So it's easy to get chopped up in this environment. So mentioned on Friday, don't I wouldn't do anything with like big size, right? If you do anything, kind of be in and out, take your money. But yeah, other than that, I mean, there are some setups that I'm looking at that I'll run through. One thing I kind of want to call out on, where you at? We'll go through the indices, right? So Cosby, we'll keep an eye out on that in about an hour, see what happens. Obviously, it's kind of coming into this bear gap here, and we have the 50 SMA, which is sloping down. So I don't, I think, and again, I'm not going to predict the future, but I think the likely move is that it actually comes back down and kind of consolidates here around the 21 day. And I know a lot of people are looking for a big move on MU this week. Like there's a lot of money being piled in on contracts. I would expect a shakeout early in the week on MU, potentially down, and I'll get to the chart, but like potentially down to like the 930, 940 area. And that could probably provide a good risk reward to the long side. IWM has been strong, right? All-time highs, kind of holding that. With that, RSP, let me go to this one actually. RSP as well, all-time highs. So that's been strong. The MAGs, kind of consolidating in this area. Obviously, there was a lot of sell-off with Amazon and Apple and Google. Those names acting weak. It's really just been kind of NVIDIA holding it up. Bitcoin, I saw something. I think Trump's meeting with like crypto leaders on on Wednesday. So that might be the catalyst that like Bitcoin's looking for this next pop up potentially. Obviously with that MSTR and coin as well. So we'll keep an eye out on that. I believe that's Wednesday. I got to double check. And then the Dow looking pretty constructive, like kind of like a low volume pullback into the 8 day, right? So keeping an eye out on any names in the Dow. And gold and silver, obviously been in and out of gold for the past week and 2 weeks on the long side and short side. I think this is just going to consolidate for a little bit longer. Wouldn't expect any big moves there. Same with silver. I mean, yeah, see if we get any kind of pullback. If we get any kind of pullback on silver, into like this area and potentially put in a double bottom kind of look, that's when I'll be looking to enter those leaps that I mentioned, I think like 2 weeks ago. Just never got the opportunity there. On the sector side, SMH is one to keep eye out on. This is why I kind of think there might be a potential weakness with MU early in the week. Rejecting the 50 SMA. Obviously, we get an 821 crossover. We have this support gap here, a bear gap here. So this just looks like more chop, right? Probably some consolidation and chop for a couple of days, and then see if we can kind of pop over that 50 SMA with the semis over there. IGV, let me take a look at. I actually haven't looked at today. We saw software names sell off a bit on Friday, so yeah, pulling back, let it consolidate here, let the EMAs catch up on IGV. I'll go into some of the mags before I kind of go into like what I'm watching. Meta, just a dog shit chart in general, just sloppy and all over the place. I think, my opinion, this probably heads lower back down to this zone around like 540, maybe even like 530 over here where this liquidity is, and kind of bounces here and heads back up, but not a name that I trade by any means. SpaceX, I put them in the mags now, but obviously big recovery the other week. Space names in general look pretty strong. I was looking at Rocket Lab, so we'll see if this kind of continue. I think the lows are in, right, for the time being, and maybe this make it push over. Want to get over that 150 spot really on SpaceX, which should be this, about 150. So either it gets over 150, or you get a pivot off the EMAs down here. Amazon still looks like crap. This is going lower in my opinion. Probably fills this gap eventually. So we'll see if it's able to kind of hold it, or it does come back down. And I drew this out, I think, last week. This channel that Amazon is in, right? So it literally came up here to the top of it, kissed it, came back down, right? So we'll see if it makes a move all the way back down here to the bottom of the channel. Netflix is interesting in the sense that, potentially get like a little wedge pop here and off to the 200 SMA. We really want to see it get over this 7850 area. I think that's what I had. Yeah, around this, right? Essentially get over the highs from Friday. I think this could keep going. So keep an eye out on Netflix, right? Cons are pretty cheap as well, and you could buy time, probably like a month or two out. Microsoft cooling down a bit, right? Obviously had a massive move up, so not something I'd look to trade. Just kind of let it consolidate, see what happens. If it does, pull back into the 21, we see a deeper pullback. We'll see, but not something I'd look to trade personally. NVDA has earnings next week on the 26th, right? I think the move's going to happen post earnings. Whether it's going to be something that is, potential double top look, it pops in here and then comes down, or is it off to the races? We will see what happens. I've been pretty fortunate with trading NVIDIA post earnings, like the past couple earnings. So it's something I'll keep an eye out on next week, personally. Apple, I don't like that it's like hanging out down here, right? If it's going to recover, I'd want it to kind of get out of here already, but it's underneath the 50. The 8 and 21 are sloping down, right? We're getting a crossover the 50 as well. So if anything, this looks like looks like more of a short for me. And let me see here no, I always do that wrong. Apple, the buy zone would essentially be like this 290 spot, right? It is holding the 618, right? But if it loses this 300, I'll look for like 290 on Apple. Oh, is there a holiday tonight? Thanks for letting me know. I didn't know that. Google, I still have the leaps here. So the previous all-time high on Google is this spot here, like this 341-ish right here, this spot, 340-ish. I know that a bunch of 13Fs came out on Friday, and Buffett, putting more money in. I think Drunken Miller too. We'll see what happens. I think Google gets out of here already. Would want to see it like get over the 50 and push back over to like this 380 spot. Another, I don't believe it's going to come down to the 200 SMA. We'll see, but another move potentially is like, hey, it comes down, undercuts this previous all-time high that everyone is watching, like this 340 spot, and then goes, right? So I'd watch that on Google if you guys are looking to get in. And then some names that I'm watching this week. We'll see if it sets up, if they set up. There's a couple that might need some more time. Toast, all right? So if we zoom out here on Toast, TOST, really needs to get over like this 36, let's call it 37, right? It needs to get over this 37 mark. It might be consolidate here for like another week and two to get out, but overall the chart looks really constructive, right? Higher lows, higher highs, holding all EMAs, and once you can see here, once it gets over the 200 SMA, it's kind of off and running, and that's kind of been a theme on some of the names I'm looking at, right? Another one is Compass, right? Over the 200. So this one is going to be a rate sensitive name. This might need a little bit more time, but if it needs to get over like this, let's call it 14 or 1360 range, right? But if you zoom out on Compass, massive weekly base, they'll get over that 13, then, look for 17 and all-time highs here around like 22 for the IPO opening. So one that I'm keeping on watch. I don't know if it's going to be actionable this week. Philip Morris, I'm keeping on watch as well. Would want to see this, either break over Friday's high or, potentially we come in down here and undercut Thursday's low. So we'll get an undercut there. And I think this looks good for higher, but really needs to, I'd actually this is a name that it's a slow mover. So I'd probably want to take it on a breakout actually over that spot, that 191, 192 zone. My favorite setup of the week, what I'm going to be hawking entry for is GE. Not extended by any means, right? And we're getting the higher lows. We have low, higher low, higher low, right? I think this gets up and out of here. I'm just hoping that it doesn't make a big move on Monday, like pre-market. Ideally, I'd like to see it like flush down a little bit, and maybe we get a pivot off this area, off the cluster, off the 8 and 21. But this is definitely my top watch next week, GE. And SoFi as well. I'm looking at this for potentially September cons. We can see here, it's come down here and kind of respected the spot a couple times. Another rate sensitive name. I would look at like the September 20s on, pull back into the 21 or break over Friday's high. And I'd be targeting the 200 SMA here around like $20.50, $21. That's another name I'm watching. ServiceNow as well, I think probably needs a little bit more time. Exited those calls on Friday at break even, but want to see this kind of consolidate a little bit. It did pop over the 200, right? So let it consolidate over the 200 for a couple of days. Oracle as well on the software side, probably look to get into September cons here. But this is at a good spot, like this 150 area where it kind of had trouble with before. So if we could kind of reclaim the 50 as well. Oracle's a name I'm watching. I know a lot of people it's all over X, Oust, right, on the robotic side. So really on Oust needs over 50, right? If we get over 50, probably looking to get in here with shares, or if we get any kind of weakness or pullback, right, into about this 44 area. I'm not about buying breakouts right now, not with this chop and not with this market. So pull back into about this 44, maybe an undercut of the 8-day would probably be good entry there on Oust. And on the short side, because we have to be equal, Tesla, played this on Friday. The 0 days went like 600%. The ones for next week went like 100%. Would look for rejection of that same spot around that 350 area or break underneath Friday's low. Ideally, get a rejection up here about 350 into the spare gap and look to short it. On the flip side, if Tesla gets over this spot of Friday's high, you could look to long it, I think, up to about the 50 SMA kind of to fill this gap. Nimbus, I'm looking at on the short side as well. It's getting really extended. I was on with Taylor earlier, kind of going over the use of Bollinger Bands because it's not something I use in my arsenal, and I was just asking and picking his brain on it, right? So if we look at it on the daily, it's way outside of the Bollinger Bands. If you look at it on the weekly, there's not much room here as well, right? So I think I have it, yeah, 285 would really be the area that I'd look to short Nimbus. And this is a name that, has had pretty big sell-offs, right, in the past. So yeah, on the short side, definitely looking at Nimbus. And what else? AAIO, one that I have marked off for like potentially both ways. So if it loses 146, look for shorts. If it goes over 153, which is essentially Friday's high, we could look for longs. But I think that as far as like what I'm looking at, that's it. I started to add and organize my watch list a little better just for like, for my own, just the way my brain works, right? So a lot of the names that, the HPs and the Dells, those are really around AI storage. So with that, a NetApp as well, obviously has been running. Some other names in there, right? STX looks strong, Nutanix, right? All these names are strong. So keeping these on side watch. The cyber names saw a little bit of a sell-off on Friday. I am in Fortinet on that 30-minute pivot on Friday because it was off the 21 and I've been kind of waiting for it. But I think cyber, saw some weakness on Friday, probably see some little more consolidation, but like all these names, obviously you want to be in the leaders like a Palo Alto or CrowdStrike or Okta. But, if you look at a Zscaler, right, if Zscaler gets over this high from Friday, about 190, I think this is headed up to about 220, 250 pretty fast. So I'm keeping this on watch as well, which reminds me, I set an alert there. Because, we get a reclaim of the 200 and, pull up some other names like Asana just reclaimed the 200 as well on the software side. And then what other name was another software name that just reclaimed the two, like you can see like what happened on Path. Like once these names reclaim the 200, it's kind of off to the races, right? So that's when big money starts piling in. They're not in the doghouse anymore. Obviously we know about Palantir, right? Reclaim 200, off to the races. So yeah, watching some names like that, like a Zscaler, I think if reclaims, gets over that 190 spot, that is a good long, for sure. So like right now it is kind of retesting that 200 on after Friday. So this is definitely going to be a top watch for me. And then Intel's interesting. I think a pullback into the 21, right? There you do have the 50 sloping down above it. You do have a bear gap above it, but Intel is definitely one that kind of be interested in potentially if money does rotate back into the semis. And last one, yeah, I'll go to MU. Sorry, MU. So yeah, if I could see some weakness early in the week, Monday, Tuesday, and MU pulls back, potentially even like undercuts the 50. Would probably look to go long and target around like the 1100 range up here. Want to see, don't want to see like pure weakness. Want to see it come in, undercut the buyers, step in, and either look to long it with MUU or some options. But that's what I got on my end. Brom, what are you looking at?
Yeah, there's three setups that really caught my eye. I actually do like GE as well, but I was kind of looking at RDW, which is also a space name.
Yeah.
It's kind of just moving sideways here as well, but it's like really close to its 50 day. So I think there's a lot of gaps for it to fill to the upside. So yeah, I'm looking at RDW, but GE like just looks just as good as well. Um, I'm looking at AXTI as well. It did have like a decent catalyst for news on its like through its earnings. Its earnings was a EP, and now it's flagging for the first time since then. I don't know if it will go now, but we do have a gap that it can either magnet to or continue to reject from. I think it's just going to magnet to it, but I think it does need to go sideways a little bit. So it's something to keep on watch for sure. And then in the scenario where the market turns, I am looking to short Everpure, which is P.
Yeah,
Um,
super extended.
it is way too extended.
Yeah, that was one of those where I was looking
Um,
at the Bollinger Bands with Taylor, right? It's outside. That's on the daily, and then on the weekly, it's way outside.
yeah, so I think that could be a great short.
Yeah, actually, the cons on that usually aren't the most liquid. I'm gonna take a look now.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the one thing is I don't know what instrument to use. I might just short shares with margin. I don't know yet. Um, because right now, like as you were saying, like we are in a slow grind upwards, which means that like you're either going to be day trading with your options contracts, but for longer term swings, shares are the way to go. Like for example, I've been just sitting in CCXI, and I'm still sitting in it,
Yeah,
and it's just a slow grind up. So yeah, I definitely agree that this week, like if you're going to be trading options, I'd be in and out in either same day or the next day. But for swings, if you wanted to initiate swings, I would say shares are the way to go right now, just until we get out of into the midterms.
well, CCXI, it shook me out last week. Yeah, I'm gonna try to find a way back in this. I think that IPO happens next week in China,
Yep.
so yeah, I'm gonna see if we get any kind of pullback. I'd probably look at like the $20 calls for it was either September, October on this as well as shares. But yeah, I like it. It was kind of annoying. I literally shook me out down here, and I look at the end of the day
Yeah.
and it started ripping.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. Like this isn't the first time it's done something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just for me, yeah, I would buy leaps or just sit in shares. For me, I'm still just sitting in them. I'll just see where it goes.
This is why I kind of I preach it. Like you want to trade names that you know their PA, because if you don't know their PA and this shit happens, right? It happens a lot, unfortunately. Where was Marvel? Take a look. They have earnings coming. They have earnings. Yeah, they have earnings coming up next week. Let me turn. Hold on. Turn off these Bollinger Bands. But yeah, can't
I
do.
think something that I am looking for, like just because I'm just looking at gamma, but obviously, like I'll update this closer to when the market opens. But we are like if we open around this area, like on Qs, there's a large put wall at 730. So we can look to long off of 730 area towards 735, which was kind of where we were rejecting yesterday or on Friday, sorry. So that's also what I'm seeing for the Qs tomorrow, assuming we just kind of stay in this range, but we'll see. I'll update tomorrow.
I mean, there's 5 points is not. It's like there's not enough volatility for it to even be worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could get chopped out easily, kind of like what we saw last week. Yeah, VIX needs to wake up because otherwise it's going to make it a little tough here. I mentioned this last week, but I'm definitely going to start looking at adding September puts on the indices in the Qs. Probably scaling into them because where the VIX is right now, like it doesn't stay down here that often, right? So, I mean, this happened earlier in the year, but even then, like a month out, you see what happened. So, you buy insurance when your house is not on fire. You don't buy insurance when your house is on fire, and insurance is going to be cheap here. And anytime any type of spike in the VIX, right, up to 20 or 22, like the IV on those cons or on any puts in general are going to skyrocket, right? So we're seeing kind of, even if the move is happening in your direction, right, on an options trade, the fact that VIX is crushing and going so low, it's kind of killing those premiums right now. So yeah, just something to be mindful of. Marvell, yeah, they have earnings probably the day after NVIDIA, I think, right? I don't anticipate them. I don't know. I wouldn't anticipate them moving much before earnings. But we did get a crossover. You have the 50 kind of sloping down at like 238, and it's at like 16 points. I mean, yeah, I don't. The risk reward isn't there for me personally, unless you plan on holding it through earnings, right? Then yeah, but if you're trying to get out before earnings, there's not much room there, in my opinion. What else? Where is Rocket Lab? So yeah, space names in general. Rocket Lab. If GE, let's see. Yeah, Rocket Lab. Reclaiming the 200. Actually, don't mind this at all. We just got to get through the 50 SMA here at about 85. So yeah, this is one that I think we bought it over here. I bought it over here originally, got stopped out, right? It undercut it pretty well. But usually when it touches the 200, it's a massive move. I think it was like the average is like 150% or something like that. So if it keeps hanging out and like consolidating above the 200, yeah, I like this for longs as well. But let's see, XTI, HR Poet. AMD. This is looking like a failed bearish move, right? So obviously everyone saw this, thought it was like a rounded top, like me included, right? I was short, made some money on it, fortunately, but Friday it just ripped, right? I think if semis recover, right, which they are, right, and they're strong, I would look for AMD to kind of start leading the way, right, on this failed breakdown. Closed over the 50, so this is actually one I need to put together a trade plan for it, right? But I would target up to about 550, even potentially next week. So AMD is one that I like. We got through earnings, right? We'll probably deal with NVIDIA earnings and Marvell and all that stuff the following week. But other than that, I think that looks good. Asana, one that we were in, came under 200, got chicken out. But this one really over $10. I think this could be off to the races, and it's cheap enough just to buy shares in. Again, another example of that, of like, hey, buying something once it breaks over the 200. If you look at some of these software names, right, like a Rapid7, right, gets over 200, melts off. Qualys is a great example of this, right? It got over the 200 and kind of off to the races. It pretty much doubled. Oh my God, went up to 200. So it's pretty much doubled since like down here. Tenable, all these charts look the same, right? Over the 200 and it's kind of off to the races. So watching for names like that, like a Asana could potentially put in a move like that. Pure Extended, Nutanix, yeah, a lot of these names. Dell. What I'd be watching for in Dell is if it could come back and retest this breakout of about 470, this spot, right? So if Dell comes back, and I have alerts set, but I'm going to keep setting alerts. If it comes back and kind of retests this 470 spot and holds it, probably look to enter DLL, which is like the leverage shares. And I mean, they have earnings coming up the first week of September. So that's probably the safest bet with the leverage shares. Poet looks good. Yeah, popped over the 208. Yeah. Obviously, this is going to follow the lead of like XTI and AAOI, that space in general, right? So, where's this zone? It's like right here on that spot. So yeah, holds over this, gets over the 50. I like Poet. I mean, it's cheap enough to do shares with too, that you don't need to do options, but I know there's usually a lot of unusual flow when it comes to Poet, like far out of the money, like $30-$40 calls. So Poet, yeah, break over Friday's high, or look for a pullback and a pivot off this EMA cluster. Qualcomm has been in the gutter. Where are you at? You've been so bad you're not even on my watch list anymore. Similar look, but yeah, wanted to see it pop over the 200 here at about like 167. So there's that gap too. So over 170 on Qualcomm. I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get big moves in these names before NVIDIA. Just my opinion, but we'll see. You never know. What else? software build, Precore. Yeah, a lot of these names like Precore. It comes out to like the AI build out with like the data platforms, right? Popped over the 200. Another name that looks good. Another one, GitLab, right? There's a theme here. A lot of these names are beaten up, like put in the doghouse. They get over the 200 and they're kind of off to the races, right? So that's really what I'm starting to watch, like Zscaler. Like Zscaler, I think is setting up for a massive move here, especially security's not going to slow down, right? Budgets aren't going to cut on the security side, especially with AI and all the threats, all the threats out there associated with AI and the LLM. So, yeah, Zscaler names that are popping over the 200, right? Sentinel's already off to the races. I missed that. Rapid, yeah. Security side. What else? I know, yeah. FCX and like a lot of these copper names were, I was looking at FCX last week, but I think copper's a pretty crowded trade. So as you can see here, came up here and rejected. Same thing with SCCO, came up here and rejected. But still keep it on watch, right? See what happens with the metals, with silver and gold. And then what else? Oh, did I mention Sunrun? It's a name that I think if we get a pullback here, or potentially get a wedge pop, but any kind of pullback into like this 970 spot and we get a pivot, and then this is another example, well, learning how to use Bollinger Bands through Taylor. The Bollinger Bands are kind of curling up here, and if you look on the weekly as well, it's literally at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. It doesn't have much more downside. So the risk reward here on longs on a name like Sunrun is pretty strong. So Sunrun, like, I'll go back here. So Sunrun and GE will be my primary watches tomorrow. Toast and Compass, I think, need a little bit more time. Yeah, these and Nimbus, that'll be my top three. GE, Sunrun, and Nimbus on the short side. Anything else y'all looking at? TE, I still want this to kind of pull back a little bit more before I buy some shares, and probably like in the 410 spot at minimum. But other than that, yeah, we'll see what happens. So Cosby is closed tonight, so that kind of changes stuff with MU. But yeah, see what happens with the market. Like I said, it's probably just going to be a little more chop for the next week and a half. There is no catalyst to really move the market at this point. We've had, what's a little frustrating is we've had every reason to move up and we haven't, right? So we haven't yet. So we'll see what happens here. Apple has a GEX pull to 330 for this week for OPEX.
You might want to rerun that like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just to confirm.
That's a 10% move. I mean, let me see here.
That could be interesting though, because we are like long gamma in the indexes right now, which means that like the higher, like the bigger the gamma like level is, the more it's going to be pulled. But then as we get close to that level, you can look to fade away from that level back towards the midpoint.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Apple right now. The 330s are 8 cents. So 320s are 30 cents. You could buy 310s for $2, and if that's the case, 1,000%. So yeah, I'll wait and see what it looks like tomorrow once the dealers kind of have a chance to reshuffle. Yeah, guys. I mean, take a look at kind of the other sectors. WGMI. Some of these names look good, some of them look bad. Hut obviously was a leader, looks like dog shit. And it's kind of bouncing off support here. We'll see if it has a magnet down to the 200. But Yeah, that's all I'm looking at, guys. I don't anticipate too much this week. Again, Top Watch, GE, Sunrun, and Nimbus for me. I think those are the ones that are ready, and then everything else, we'll see what happens. Cool. Last thing I'll note is bootcamp information's up. The application site is up. Literally spent all day today and yesterday on calls with people about it. So if you guys are interested, make sure to register. It's going to be 7 weeks. Everything is live, not pre-recorded. And I changed the curriculum so that it's not like beginner 101, right? A lot of that stuff is going to be taken care of beforehand and pre-work. So kind of get to the meat of what the education is about, risk management and making sure you have a trade plan. And yeah, as I mentioned, there's 2 guarantees with that as well. Number 1 being if you guys come out of the boot camp, do all the work, do all the quizzes, do all the homework, and you don't feel comfortable, put you in the next one for free. The second one, which I think is more important, is if I am not on 80% of the calls, everyone gets a full refund, right? So I think we've heard stories of like people selling a boot camp and going on vacation, and that is definitely not the case, right? I'm going to be involved with you guys and invested, and I counted the hours. It's actually about like 14, 15 hours a week that I would be dedicated to the boot camp. So will I be live trading during that 7-week period? Probably. I'll be live trading probably on Fridays, maybe like another day, but the other days will be kind of dedicated to the boot camp. And Brahm, I think will be like this week. Brahm is live trading a couple of days out of the week. So
yeah, and also like we can get Tony and Taylor on as well.
Yeah.
Like we can cover those days too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What did I miss? I'm shorting Nimbus. Are you down with that, Nocho? Shorting Nimbus. Yeah, at 285. If we get there. Yeah. So Nimbus stopwatch on a short side, Sunrun long side. I'll take a look at, there's an inverse, right? Is there an inverse? Nimbus. Bear. Where's Bear? It has to be. There is a short one, right? I'm checking Robinhood. Daily Nimbus. Yeah, 2x short. Okay. A ton of volume came in. $4.
Yeah, and that's something that I think people should always look for too as a proxy is if people have a certain bet about a stock, check the 2x leveraged ETF because the volume is much more noticeable on ETFs than they are on the actual underlying. And it's directional.
Yeah. Why 285? So if you look at the Bollinger Bands here on the weekly, top of it is essentially at 285, right? So looking at if it rejects up here, either way, like this, like taking it up here is going to be the best risk reward up here around the 285 spot. And if you look at here, we'll go like the hourly. Go back a bit here. So look left on the hourly, right? It was around it's 286 and some change, right? So that's the area I'm looking at as it was the top of this move up here, the top of this hourly candle. So around 286 and some change. So we'll be looking up here. That's going to provide the strongest risk reward. If it happens, we'll see. Yeah, close there, hourly there. Yeah, about 286 and some change. So we'll see. But yeah, the main thing was like looking at the Bollinger Bands on the weekly. That's kind of where the top is, right? Around the 285, 286. You see what happened when it made that move last time. It popped up here, right here, sold off pretty hard for about for 4 weeks. I talked about Google. Yeah. So all those 13Fs came in last week, and I know it didn't move the stock after hours, but I mean, it needs to get out of here. I think I did kind of chart this out earlier. I was like, hey, well, I think that maybe potentially could come down and undercut this 340 and then go right, take out all these people. Yeah, I have the January leaps for now. That's it. So want to see it start reclaiming these EMAs, like get over 354. 354 would be the big spot I want to see. All right, guys. Other than that, I'm exhausted. I've been at my desk all day, so I'm gonna hop off. We'll be live tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be live tomorrow. I think Tuesday. Yeah, we'll have a good week. Like I said, this could be choppy in my opinion. Maybe Wednesday we get a move with Vixpiration, and they unpin Vix on Wednesday. But with VIX kind of being down here, we're not going to see big moves in the indices. It's going to be like a 5 point